Yesterday, we talked about this document release, the declassified documents that Tulsi Gabbard released showing the smoking guns there about how Obama engineered the Russian collusion hoax, misused intelligence, and basically concocted the entire frame. Watch that show, watch the episode yesterday, and really all week long as we've been talking about it, so you can get the details of it. But after we went off the air, Tulsi Gabbard then took the podium at the White House press briefing room. I'm sure you saw it, unless you watch CNN. Because CNN interrupted and broke away and then explained that they don't want their viewers to see this news. They don't want their viewers to be informed. It was a stunning admission that they're not actually in the news business. I want to show that to you coming up in a minute. But first, let's get to the details of this incredible moment at the press briefing. Here's Tulsi Gabbard breaking out some of the potential criminal charges that Team Obama might be facing here.
Any of this new information implicates former President Obama in criminal behavior?
We have referred and will continue to refer all of these documents to the Department of Justice and the FBI to investigate the criminal implications of this.
For even former President Obama?
Correct. The evidence that we have found and that we have released directly point to President Obama leading the manufacturing of this intelligence assessment. There are multiple pieces of evidence and intelligence that confirm that fact.
All right, and that's huge news. Also, later in the day, it was confirmed that the Justice Department is assembling what they're calling a strike force to examine all of this evidence and determine what, if any, criminal charges could be pending. I've got an idea of some criminal charges for some of these players that I'll explain to you coming up in just a bit. Spoiler alert, John Brennan better lawyer up. And then later in the press conference, Caitlin Collins doing her due diligence for CNN, because remember, CNN's part of this scandal. Well, she had to challenge Tulsi Gabbard on why she's releasing this information. And, well, it didn't end well for her. It's a beautiful thing. Let's watch.
Thank you, Caroline. Two questions for Director Gabbard just on this. Director Gabbard, you referenced the past intelligence reports and assessments on this, including that 2017 one that was signed off, as Ed noted, by every Republican on the Senate Intelligence Community, including the acting chair of the time, now Secretary of State Marco Rubio, who said in a statement that they did not find any evidence of Russian collusion, but they did find, however, is very troubling, and they found irrefutable evidence of Russian meddling. One, are you saying that he's wrong in that statement that he made then? And secondly, what would you say to people who believe that you're only releasing these documents now to improve your standing with the president after he said that your intelligence assessments were wrong?
Well, first, I want to correct something that you stated, which was citing the Senate Intelligence Committee's report as being one and the same. I think you said the intelligence community. The Senate Intelligence Committee has a very different function than the Office of the Director of National Intelligence. The evidence and the intelligence that has been declassified and released is irrefutable. I'm going to let Caroline speak to Secretary Rubio.
I'll speak to both questions. First, on Secretary Rubio, he put out a statement in 2020 following that Senate Intelligence Committee report, and he said what they found is troubling. We found irrefutable evidence of Russian meddling, which the Director of National Intelligence just confirmed for all of you, that Russia was trying to sow distrust and chaos. But what's the outrage in this that Secretary Rubio did not say at the time, the Democrats were saying at the time, is the fact that the intelligence community was concocting this narrative that the president colluded with the Russians, that the president's son was holding secret meetings with the Russians, all of these lies that were never true. And he also said at that time, we discovered deeply troubling actions taken by the FBI under Comey, particularly their acceptance and willingness to rely on the Steele dossier without verifying its methodology or sourcing. The Steele dossier that many outlets in this room ran as the gospel truth, and it was cooked up and paid for by the Clinton campaign. As for your second question, Caitlin, I think who is saying that she would release this to try to boost her standing with the president? Who has?
I love that. There's a little bit more here. I just want to pause for a second here, a couple minutes into this, because that's so beautiful. I love Caroline Leavitt because she does stuff like that. It's such a trick that these reporters do. People are saying that Tulsi Gabbard is doing this to curry favor with President Trump. What do you name them? Who's saying that? You mean the people in the office at CNN? You mean your producers in your ear right now? Or maybe just you? You're a person. Are you the one, Caitlin, who's saying that? It's so passive aggressive and it's so transparent, and they should be called out for it every single time. You know, people are speculating that Tulsi Gabbard is just releasing this because she's trying to get in good favor with Donald Trump. Okay, who's saying that? I'll tell you what. I'll answer your question when you tell me who's saying that. Who of importance? So I love that she did that. But then wait for this, because Caitlin Collins, because she's not used to being challenged, and forgive me, Caitlin, but I don't think that you're really, let's just say, read up on this situation. Caitlin Collins is about to lie. She's about to lie because she's about to say that Donald Trump claims Tulsi Gabbard didn't know what she was talking about with regard to the Iran nuclear capabilities. That's a lie. Listen for it, and then we'll break down the lie in a sec.
Said that.
Well, the president has publicly undermined her when it came to Iran. He said she was wrong. He told me that she didn't know what she was talking about. That was on Air Force One on camera.
The only people who are suggesting that the director of national intelligence would release evidence to try to boost her standing with the president are the people in this room who constantly try to sow distrust and chaos amongst the president's cabinet, and it is not working. I will just answer your question directly. I am with the president of the United States every day. He has the utmost confidence in Director Gabbard. He always has. He continues to. And that is true of his entire cabinet, who is all working as one team to deliver on the promises this president made.
You have to be stupid or downright deceitful to propose what Caitlin Collins just did there. Maybe both, of course. Always an option with CNN. She's claiming that because Donald Trump so-called undermined Tulsi Gabbard's authority as Director of National Intelligence by claiming that Tulsi Gabbard doesn't know what she's talking about with regard to the Iranian nuclear capabilities, that now Tulsi Gabbard is concocting this whole thing to get back in his good favor. That's the theory that Caitlin Collins just put forth. And of course, it's all based on multiple lies. The first one is Tulsi Gabbard did not refute in any way whatsoever Iran's nuclear capabilities. We've shown this to you. Go ahead and take a look at our video from a couple of weeks ago when they were lying. They pulled a little 15-second clip from her testimony that said that the intelligence shows that at this moment, Iran does not have the intention to build a nuclear weapon. Then they cut it off. And then she immediately in her testimony after that said, however, they now have enriched uranium to the point of over 60% grade level, which is well beyond any type of uranium that you would need for commercial purposes. It's only to build up to the point where it is enriched enough for weapons grade uranium, right? And so she actually testified they may not be making a weapon right now, but they're putting all the components together to make a weapon. There's no other reason why they would have this uranium. So the original lie that the media played with was taking just a small, very portion of her testimony out of context. Number one, when President Trump was confronted with that on Air Force One by Caitlin Collins, he did not say, well, Tulsi doesn't know what she's talking about. He did not say that. She just lied. She misquoted the president. He did not say she doesn't know what she's talking about. She said, I don't care what she said. This is what we believe. Okay. Now, you may not like that President Trump said, I don't care what she said, but really that's between him and Tulsi Gabbard. And anyone who thinks that Donald Trump has undermined Tulsi Gabbard, well, that's in the eye of the beholder, and that's your own speculation, which again has no business being part of your question if you're just the facts, CNN, which of course they're not. But Caitlin got her hand handed to her there, her head handed to her as she attempted to do that. All right. Now watch what CNN does during this briefing as Tulsi Gabbard lays out the evidence supporting the claim that she's making that President Obama directed the intelligence community to disregard basic norms in the CIA's practices of gathering intelligence and reaching an assessment, and instead concoct this assessment to call Donald Trump a illegitimate president. Watch what CNN does. Imagine you're a CNN viewer at this moment.
Multiple intelligence community assessments released in the months leading up to the November 2016 election concluded that Russia had neither the intent nor capability to impact the outcome of the U.S. election. On December 5th.
We've been listening there to the Director of National Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, continuing on what has now been a multi-day effort, not only with public statements like this, but release of documents to attempt to back up the quite extreme allegation that President Obama is guilty of treason and that he worked in some sort of conspiracy with Hillary Clinton, et cetera, in the assessment by the intelligence community at the time that Russia interfered in the 2016 election.
So you're watching news on CNN, and news is literally happening. You might not like what Tulsi Gabbard said. You may disagree with what Tulsi Gabbard said. You may think that Tulsi Gabbard is lying, which, by the way, if the director of national intelligence during a White House press briefing is lying to the American people and to the press pool, I don't know about you, but that's news. And the second N in CNN is supposed to stand for news. So even if you think she's lying, even if you think it's propaganda, even if you think that it's just wrong, you can't deny that it's news. And CNN cuts away, talks over her, doesn't let their audience see what is, by any objective measure, news. And then they go to their national security correspondent, Jess Delaney, who's outside the building, instead of actually showing your audience what's going on inside the building. And they say to him, hey, Jeff, what do you think of what's happening here that we're not going to let our audience hear or see?
We have no idea. I mean, this is hardly information that we should even be repeating. Never mind that it's, some years after the fact, 8 years more than that after the fact, but also just to look at the source. But look, this is the what this White House wants to talk about. And I'm not sure that we should spend that much more time on it, frankly.
Yeah. I mean, amazing. Oh, gosh, we don't even know if this is true. This is the network that released the Steele dossier to the American people and spent years speculating about anonymous tips that they didn't know. They couldn't verify if it was true or not. They had anonymous sources from the intelligence community that told them things, and they ran with it without knowing if it's true. Here, this is the director of national intelligence, not anonymous. She's up there telling you these things. I mean, it's fair. They still don't know if it's true, but this we don't want you to hear, even though she's saying it out loud, not as an anonymous leak, right? Number one. Number two, this happened 8 years ago. This is a network who's obsessed with the Epstein story right now. This is a network who, again, was obsessed with the Russian dossier about things that were in there that happened years ago. But it's different because it was meant to harm Donald Trump. One other thing here. The anchor in studio for CNN who cut off Tulsi Gabbard, talked over her, and then pulled away because, we don't want you to see this. It's news. And, you're our audience here at the news networks. The last thing we want to do is show you news. That anchor in studio, his name is Jim Sciutto. Do you know what he did for a living before he got a job at CNN as a reporter and as an anchor? You may think that he worked for another network, right? Maybe he worked for a newspaper or something, or maybe he had a podcast, right? That's how you work your way up the ladder to get an anchor's job and a reporter's job at CNN, right? Jim Sciutto, that's what he did before CNN. Nope. No, you'd be wrong there. Do you know what Jim Sciutto's job was before he got a job, a nice cushy teleprompter reading job at CNN, where he would then engineer the show to pull away from Tulsi Gabbard exposing the criminal activity of the Obama administration? You know what he did? He worked for the Obama administration. CNN anchor Jim Sciutto, former employee of the Obama administration, now sitting in the studio hearing about the corrupt activities of the Obama administration, says, cut it. Nope. We're not going to watch this. This ain't news. This ain't real. No. Let's go talk about how bad this is and how really it's Tulsi and Trump who are breaking the law. Not my old boss, my buddy, Barack Obama. This is nothing new for CNN. I just mentioned that they broke the existence of the Steele dossier and disclosed many of the details of the dossier because, again, they got an anonymous leak, James Comey's buddy, that the FBI director had briefed Donald Trump at Trump Tower. Like the day after Trump was briefed on portions of the Steele dossier, suddenly Jake Tapper is running with the story on CNN. We all know that. But let's not forget this moment when Jake Tapper was interviewing J.D. Vance, and he called Jake Tapper out to his face.
Yourself a basic question about network integrity. You guys talked about the Russia hoax nonstop.
The FBI was investigating it. The FBI was investigating it. So we recovered them.
And so you took the words of unnamed FBI agents and put them on your network as if they were the gospel truth. You did it again and again. A viewer of your network would have believed that Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin conspired in 2016.
No.
That was totally and preposterously false.
No.
Well, that's
what you just said is
why.
false. We covered an FBI investigation. I don't know why you want to talk about the FBI investigation.
You covered it in a way that gave credence to anonymous sources' accusations. You did it yourself. Your network did it, Jake. But again, can we talk about the issues that Americans care
I'm
most
talking about things that Donald Trump has said.
Yes.
If you have an issue
Kamala
with whether or
Harris-
not he's talking about the economy enough, that's between you and your running mate. I'm talking about things he has said this week.
Every single rally that he does, he talks about how he wants to unleash American energy so we can lower the cost of groceries. He talks about the fact that housing has become unaffordable. He talks about the wide open border, Jake. Kamala Harris and her allies, you know, it's interesting. Kamala Harris and her media allies, and I would put CNN in this category. You guys,
They wouldn't.
You guys seem to care.
I'll tell you that. They wouldn't.
Well, they should watch your network more because you guys seem to care more about Donald Trump's past than the future of the American people. We're running this campaign on making the American dream.
I'm specifically
affordable.
asking about how Donald Trump is going to be president in the future should he win. And then we're being told
He's going to pursue economic policies that lower the cost of groceries and make life more affordable again. He talks about it every single day on the campaign trail, and so do I. What you're talking about is an anonymously sourced story, or one guy
nothing
who-
anonymously
or
sourced.
who
Zero
one guy who was a disgruntled employee.
I told
where
you 10 people
pushed back against him and said that what he said was dishonest. So why don't we talk about the policy that's affecting American citizens and not what Donald Trump allegedly said, according to one guy who's pissed off because he got fired by Donald Trump?
All right. That's Jake Tapper's behavior. And boy, he sure seemed defensive, didn't he? When charged with running with anonymous sources about the Steele dossier and Russian collusion. Oh, we were just covering an FBI story. See, that's the fig leaf. That's the fig leaf. That's why this intelligence community assessment is so important. By the way, Tulsi Gabbard's predecessor there in the Obama administration was James Clapper. He was the director of national intelligence. He signed off on that intelligence community assessment. And at the time, this moment also happened on CNN, where he was, randomly actually asked a challenging question about the provenance of that assessment and what went into creating the intelligence community assessment. And something fascinating happened when that happened. Take a look at this throwback video.
Leaking classified information, and by definition, these phone calls were classified. That's a problem, correct?
Oh, absolutely, it is.
And if anyone did leak the contents of these conversations with or without the name, that would be a problem, yes? We've lost the shot.
Challenged about the criminality of anonymous leaks, which I'm pretty sure Mr. Clapper might be guilty of. And instead of answer that question, he lost his feed. I'm sure that was just coincidental. That said, yesterday, James Clapper was asked about the latest revelations and whether he's concerned about whether there's going to be a criminal investigation into his behavior.
When the director says that she's referred these filings to the Justice Department for criminal investigation, tonight we're told they formed what is called a strike force. Do you have concerns that they will attempt to prosecute you?
Well, certainly I do. After 8.5 years of this, and I don't know of an intelligence product that was more scrutinized, more investigated than that product was by numerous people. It's very disconcerting. It really is. And I take seriously when the President of the United States accuses me of being a participant in a treasonous conspiracy, which is ridiculous.
Yeah, what's your reaction to that?
It's ridiculous. It is untrue.
So what will you do if they come after you? What is your plan?
Well, I'll lawyer up, I suppose. Already have.
You've already hired attorneys in anticipation that this Trump Justice Department could try to prosecute you.
We've had sort of perpetual attorneys since I left the government in 2017.
Lawyer up. But why? I mean, if it's preposterous and you're innocent, Why are you so worried? Truth will always prevail, right? There's no way that the government would ever use the law and the Justice Department as a weapon to harm an innocent person, right? Huh. Weird. Also on CNN yesterday, they amped up the rhetoric about this release. You know, oh, they shouldn't do this. We shouldn't let our viewers know it. We shouldn't let our viewers see it. This is all terrible. And oh, by the way, wait for it. You're helping Russia. That's right. Once again, Trump proves that he's Putin's puppet. I'm not kidding. That was the talking point.
What I don't appreciate is that these are cherry-picked examples, that they are quibbling, angels dancing on the head of a pin. When we have volumes of reporting, you're always going to find one report that's different. Okay, whatever. The big message here for Americans, Russia tried to interfere in our election processes with the point of undermining our confidence in our democracy. And by bringing this up again, the Trump administration is doing the work of our adversary, Russia.
There you go. You're doing Russia's work for them. But did you see how they changed the narrative? Understand something. The ICA and the talking points coming out of the FBI and the CIA for years was that Russia successfully interfered with our election, and it was all to help Donald Trump. But what did she just say?
Here for Americans, Russia tried to interfere in our election processes.
Tried to interfere. Well, of course we know they tried to interfere. They try all the time. So what? That's hardly worthy of stopping everything and putting together an intelligence community assessment at breakneck speed before Trump becomes president, right? Why did they accelerate this process and overlook basic norms and standards of intelligence protocol and work product to be able to rush this thing out? That it tried? No. They succeeded. Remember the montage we showed you the other day? Russia hacked the election. Russia hacked the election. Not Russia tried to hack the election. Not Russia tried to interfere in the election. So that's a big narrative change. And why did they do it again, ma'am? It was to help Donald Trump, I'm told. That's what James Clapper said. That's what John Brennan said. That's what James Comey said. That's what Barack Obama said. Right? That's why they did it.
With the point of undermining our confidence in our democracy.
Oh, it was to undermine our confidence in our democracy. No, it wasn't. It was to help Donald Trump. That's what you said. So now suddenly she's actually telling the truth. Oh, by the way, who is she? Her name is Beth Sanner. She used to work for the Director of National Intelligence. She actually used to be in charge of the president's daily brief from April 2017 to April 2019. When Trump was president. She was also the vice chair of the National Intelligence Council from July 2015 to April 2017 when Barack Obama was president. She's part of the problem. She is the deep state, coming for decades with the CIA and the intelligence community. And now there she is with a gig on CNN. So you understand something. If you're watching CNN, you only see this woman telling you what the report said, telling you what Tulsi Gabbard said, and telling you why it's really dangerous and it's doing Russia's bidding. But they never actually let you see what Tulsi Gabbard said, only what this person is interpreting for you. Meanwhile, over on MSNBC, they amped up the rhetoric even more, helping Russia, playing into Russia's hands. Oh, forget that. No, it's worse.
And my only question is, when people like Tulsi Gabbard and Donald Trump accuse an ex-president of a capital crime that is punishable by death, who is going to die? Who is going to die because they've decided that they need a distraction away from the Epstein calamity, which they brought upon themselves?
There you go. They found a Democrat in the House of Representatives to say that Trump and Tulsi Gabbard want to kill these people. People are going to die. So that's CNN, although that last clip was from MSNBC. But that's how CNN participated in it. But I don't want to leave NBC and MSNBC off the hook entirely. Let's go back in time a little bit. We showed you James Clapper on CNN. How about this guy, John Brennan? He's the director of the CIA. Now, again, understand one of the revelations from yesterday's document dump was absolutely verified now that the Steele dossier was used as one of the sources for the intelligence community's assessment, right? The debunked, unverified, completely garbage piece of political opposition research that Hillary Clinton paid for. This man right here, CIA Director John Brennan, directed longtime veterans of the CIA to use the Steele dossier. They objected. They told the director of the CIA, we can't use this thing. Nothing in here is verified. This is garbage. It's not intelligence. We can't use this to support your claims. And this man, the CIA director, John Brennan, told those longtime intelligence community officials, use it. And the reason was, quoting John Brennan now from the documents, it rings true, doesn't it? So he read the Steele dossier, which was garbage, and said, yeah, this sounds right. This rings true. And that was the rationale. And let me just be clear. I want to repeat it. They didn't want to use the Steele dossier. They ended up using it because this man directed them to use it. Now, listen to what he told Chuck Todd on Meet the Press when asked, did you use the Steele dossier for the intelligence community assessment?
When did you first learn of the so-called Steele dossier and what Christopher Steele was doing?
Well, it was not a very well-kept secret among press circles for several months before it came out. And it was in late summer of 2016 when there were some individuals from the various U.S. news outlets who asked me about my familiarity with it. And I had heard just snippets about it. I did not know what was in there. I did not see it until later in that year. I think it was in December. But I was unaware of the provenance of it as well as what was in it. And it did not play any role whatsoever in the intelligence community assessment that was done, that was presented to then President Obama and then President-elect Trump.
Okay, that last part is pretty damn important. Repeat yourself.
I was unaware of the provenance of it as well as what was in it. And it did not play any role whatsoever in the intelligence community assessment that was done, that was presented to then President Obama and then President-elect Trump.
Now, we know that's a lie. In fact, I just told you there's a paper trail. And he specifically said, use this damn thing. And here he is on NBC News lying to Chuck Todd, saying it played no role whatsoever. Which, you know, sure, it's a lie. I mean, he's a spy. Spies lie, right? Okay, no big deal, right? Well, I guess, except for this. Do you know what John Brennan does right now for a living? I mean, he's got a couple of jobs. I'm sure he consults. I'm sure he is on boards of directors and what have you. But one of his jobs, one of his paychecks, has a little peacock on it. Yeah, one of John Brennan's jobs is as a national security analyst for NBC News. Here he is, sitting on the set of NBC News, lying, bald-faced lie. And NBC News is still paying his salary to provide analysis for their viewers. They're just fine having a liar provide analysis to their viewers, provide analysis to them. You know, the former RNC chairman, Ronna McDaniel, had to get kicked out of NBC News. The people were ready to burn down the president of NBC News's office if they hired her to be an analyst. But John Brennan, employee in good standing with NBC News. But, you know, that's just the media part of the story. Here's another moment where John Brennan says the exact same lie. This time it's under oath. This time it's before the House of Representatives. You'll recognize two people here in this shot. That's Trey Gowdy, former congressman from South Carolina, now a news host on Fox News. But then look who's behind him. That would be the chief counsel for the House Intelligence Committee at the time, young kid named Kash Patel. He's now the director of the FBI. You have to understand that at the moment that John Brennan lies about the use of the Steele dossier in the intelligence community assessment, that guy right there, Kash Patel, he knows full well that John Brennan's lying. Now watch.
Did the CIA rely on it?
No.
Why not? because we didn't. It wasn't part of the corpus of intelligence information that we had. It was not in any way used as a basis for the intelligence community assessment that was done. It was not.
That's John Brennan, the former CIA director, perjuring himself. I mean, the Justice Department's going to look at a lot of stuff. They might want to start right there. That's a crime. That's a crime. Last I checked, plenty of people face criminal charges if they perjure themselves when under oath before a hearing, especially something as important as this. This isn't just some, oh, I'm sorry, I forgot about that. No. This is a very specific lie. And by the way, as the Justice Department looks at this, I sure hope the House of Representatives, led by Republicans right now, are also looking at this. Because if they want to be taken seriously, if any of their hearings are meant to mean anything, they need to slam down the sledgehammer on somebody's face when they are caught in a bald-faced lie like that. So that's the latest on this story. As it continues to develop every day, we'll continue to give you our analysis on it. I hope that you have ammunition now for the liberals in your life who think, oh, there's nothing there, and this is just Trump's temper tantrum, and there's really no crime. It's all right, there's a crime right there. You just saw it. And there's the real there. And make sure you use this information, maybe even share this video with those people in your life who are still in denial about this. Because here's the thing, it's not their fault. They don't really know what's going on, and they don't know the truth of this story. They don't know the basic facts of this story because they probably watch CNN.